everybody for being here. Yes, sometimes when I look at my bio, I say, oh my God, did I do all that? So I just tell people I've lived my life in dog years. And I think if you live long enough, you can accomplish all kinds of things. I'm a published author, just to show I have some credibility. I have a book out on the Universal Medicine Wheel, which is something I teach. I have another book out on some of the best early interviews I did on my radio show, which I do at maria.net. I put out all you need to know about Reiki in a book, maybe the thickness of a quarter. So if you meet Reiki masters, which the Valley abounds in, and most of them have no Reiki as far as I have been able to tell, and they're selling you big, thick books, everything you need to know is in 20 pages. Everything else is B of S, as I call it. I've met a lot of teachers that are my way or the highway teachers. I've never been that way. I always just tell people, you know, here's the information, do with it whatever you want. You know, this is, we're here to have a good time. We're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time. That's why I gave out my brochure. It makes it easier for you to see who I am, what I do. I take what I do legitimately. It's very professional. I'm very proud of the fact that most of my clients from my readings are evolved souls. I don't get curious people that want to know stupid stuff and are just stuck in a little box about me, me, me. I get the people that want to live the best life they possibly can, want to know where they are on their spiritual journey, what's coming down the road, how to avoid it, how to get what they want. And I can actually tune into your Akashic records and tell you all about yourself. Yes, I can talk to the dead. They don't show up on like clockwork, okay? A lot of times you're looking for somebody that's dead that's already reincarnated, so you're never going to get them, no matter what you try to do. But everybody's reading is always different, and I take in everything I get is everything, for starting with your health, where you're at, sometimes what past life is affecting you right now. You might be stuck in your business or your personal life and not know. I've tried this, I've tried that, and I'm still stuck. Well, sometimes it's coming from a past life, and usually I pick that up just by letting you know about it. It's gone. The block is gone. I'm also a Reiki master, so I work with energy. I teach the Universal Medicine Wheel, which is a fantastic tool for spiritual development. When I was 4 years old, even though my doctor said, that explains you, Maria, when I was 4 years old, I got hit by a truck. He was like, that explains it. And when I became conscious again, I knew everything. And I was 4 years old, a little girl, and living in Brooklyn in an Italian Catholic neighborhood, so all the old ladies used to make the sign of the cross when I came down the street. It was like, people told me I needed an exorcist. The old Italian ladies in their severe black used to call me Mala Cristiana, which translates Antichrist, because I knew things, and I knew things that a little girl should never have been privy to, but I just knew it anyway. I told my mother which neighbor was stealing from her. And so that neighbor she used to lock herself in her house when I came home from school. And I remember I was probably my first psychic delivery. I was 5 years old. And it was the 50s, you know, it wasn't like today where kids know about sex and everything. I didn't know anything about sex. But what I did know, I went over to one of my mother's girlfriends and I looked at her and I was like this big. And I pointed my finger at her and I said, you want to kiss my daddy, don't you? So my first psychic delivery got me my first flying lesson. Because I got slapped so hard, I went flying across the room. So I said to myself, this can't be good. So after getting slapped enough, probably by the time I was 17, I said, this can't be good. So I just learned how to zip the lip for a goodly while. But then when I got pregnant with my son, I was 29 years old, and for whatever reason, his energy, my energy, I mean, this just came on full force, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. So I decided, well, as a true Capricorn, there must be a way to make a living doing this. so I put it together, and I've been doing readings now for well over 35 years, and I have clients that I've never met all around the world. I also branched out. I just follow, my road is very interesting. Just when I think I know this is what I'm going to be doing, Spirit throws something else in my way that I never wanted to do, I have no intention to do, and then I do it. So I started doing radio in the Valley probably 14 years ago. And I did radio in the Valley for about 1.5 years, and then I got bored with that. And I used to do readings on air, as a matter of fact. In 1 hour, I did 50 readings for people. The switchboard was like blown out. And from there, some young man said he was starting up something new called internet radio. And he said, would you like to try it? And I was like, radio? I said, most people don't even know they have speakers on their computers, right? Because it was like 13 years ago or 11 years ago. So I said, well, that'll be fun. I'll try it for a couple of months. Well, this month I just started my 11th year of doing a radio show online. So a lot of people know me as the grandmother of the internet, although Al Gore did invent it. So he has that position, I don't. And you can check out that show. It covers everything from politics to conspiracies to natural healing to the best natural doctors on the planet. And I do have a lot of spiritual shows there too. And it's all, my website's easy, it's just maria.net. So I thought that one of the first things I would tell you about how to spot a psychic fraud, and let me tell you, I thought we had a lot of frauds in New York before I moved out here. And when I came out here, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to do any more teaching, because I was tired of teaching. And I taught through colleges and different places in New York. And then I saw what the psychic New Age community was like out here, and it frightened me to the core. So 3 weeks after I said I will not teach out here, I was lecturing, because I had to. So I guess if somebody has to be the psychic police, I figured it might as well be me. So people either love me or hate me. There's never anybody that's lukewarm, and I still sleep at night. So, okay, everybody got one of my cards?
That's because if you don't want to know the truth, you don't want to talk.
I don't tell people what they want to hear. I tell people what they need to hear, and I don't give it to you in such a way that you're going to want to leave and go home and slice your wrists. I also give people direction on how to get out of it. You know, I've taught readings, I've taught tarot to lots of students. The hardest thing for them to get is how to deliver the message, and I'll share some funny stories with you today. Okay, big clue. Take a good look at my business card and tell me what you notice on that business card. Or maybe what you don't notice.
All of the information.
All the information. If you are at a psychic fair or the flea market, where I actually have picked up some of their clients and told them to go to the district attorney and press charges against them, you will notice if somebody gives you a business card and all it has on it is their first name and a phone number, how legitimate do you think that person is when they won't even own up to who they are and where they are? You get home, just Google my name and watch what happens online. Okay. If they're not willing to own up to their own name, a real phone number, and a mailing address, and a website, are you really dealing with a professional, or is it a flim-flam artist? Okay. If they have names from other worlds, I would say start running. Okay. I've had people hire me for parties. I've worked everywhere from the Phoenician to you name it, all over the Valley, and I've worked with Power Places Tours. I've worked through Intuition Cruises. I have met the strangest, craziest people that not only do they have names like, you know, Xnard from Planet Zor or whatever, but when they start doing their spiel, if they start doing faces and voices, I say, if that's a channel, better to have a TV where you could change the channel. I've never had a need to do faces and voices, and when I show up when I'm hired for a function or a party, people say, "You're the psychic?" So I have to tell them, well, I left my crystal off my forehead tonight, and my head wrap is gone. Psychic ability is something everyone has. I just happen to have a bigger boost to it, and have used it more than most people, so things come to me easily. Can I channel the dead? Absolutely. People that say they're channeling the dead all the time and your dear departed is there, I can tell you that that's not true, and they don't know anything about the soul's travel, especially after death. Sometimes if somebody was really powerful in life, you'll be able to contact them usually a year after they die. That first year, they're busy, okay? They got a lot going on. They got a life review, they've got to heal, they've got to change all their programming from this life. They have to get used to where they are. They're really not able to, especially if they died from a serious disease, they're not physically or spiritually able to come through. If it's somebody that you definitely have to, I set up a thing weeks in advance to try to petition wherever in the universe that person is, if they can make it at the day you're coming to my house. Like Michelle said earlier, with the dead, there's no guarantees. I'm finding with the living, there are no guarantees. So when people say to me, Maria, do you talk to the dead? I said, most of the people I know that are dead, I didn't want to talk to them when they were alive. Okay? So I really don't want to talk to them while they're dead. I had gone to Hotel del Coronado in San Diego. Have any of you been there?
Yes.
That place is as haunted could be. And I walked in there for a vacation. And I walk in the lobby to register, and I'm looking around, and I mean everywhere, up the stairs, against the walls. I mean, spirits are everywhere. And the kid behind the desk says, do you want to stay? Do you want to stay in the old part of the hotel, or would you like the new part? And I said, I want the new part, because I'm not working this weekend, and I really don't want to hear all these people. You know? So that's another thing. Some people have no control over their gift. Just because a spirit wants to talk to you doesn't mean you have to talk to them, okay? That's first. And second, always remember, if Uncle Joe was an idiot when he was alive, he's still an idiot in spirit, so you got to be careful about taking his advice, okay? A lot of people that say they channel these beings from these other worlds and other planets, you know, my students have always asked me, what do you think about that? I said, have they ever been human? Have they ever had an existence on planet Earth? And if they haven't had an existence as a human on planet Earth, what good is their advice? They haven't been here and gone through the crap we have to go through every day. They don't even know about money. They don't know anything. Just because they claim to be somebody, be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you adopt in your life. You know, there's so many people out there channeling, but it's like, for me, when people say, Maria, who do you channel? I say, I channel my higher self. Who's smarter? There is no one smarter than your higher self, and if you understand on a spiritual level that we're all one, we're all tapping into the same universal consciousness, so you can only have the same message, and if their message is off-planet and off-worldly, you have to question that and say, what good is that going to do me? Yeah, I don't know how many of you watched that show, Medium, or The Ghost Whisperer, okay? I like those shows. All right, they are a little stretched beyond belief. But the problem I have with both those women is they're constantly taken over by spirits. They just put their life on hold. Well, okay, I got a ghost here. He's got a problem, so let me just put my life on hold, put my kids in danger, and do whatever this ghost tells me. But that's really not the way it should work. You know, I was in Hawaii one day having lunch with a girlfriend, and all of a sudden she starts channeling to me. And I just looked at her and said, no, we're having lunch right now. Whoever's got a message can wait until we have had our lunch. Because once spirits know that you're available, you know, they're always going to bother you. And to me, this is my life, this is my body. You had your chance. So if you want a favor, you wait for when it's good, when I'm good and ready. So that I have a problem with people that give over their body and their soul to an unknown entity. You know, if you really look around, a lot of people that say they channel, well, who are they channeling? They're always channeling Mother Mary or Jesus. You know, it's like everybody's past life, they were Cleopatra or Mark Antony. Well, I can tell you that if you're here in this lifetime, you weren't Mother Teresa or Mark Antony in a past life. You were probably some murdering, rapist, killer, who knows what, that earned them yet another chance to get it right on planet Earth. But when these people all claim to channel these high spirits, I mean, that just, for me, that's always a red flag. It's like, there's no way, you know. So that's another clue. So their business card is important. I have one woman who got fleeced big time by some crook at the flea market for thousands of dollars, and then, you know, you have a curse on your head. If somebody tells you as soon as you walk in, you've got this dark cloud on your head, you've got a curse on your head, but I can take care of it for you. And I've seen people do this. I can light a candle for you, because the candles are $75 each. I don't know who's making them, maybe Betsy Ross. Okay, great. And you need 3 candles a day over the course of a week, and before you know it, you're in the hole for 10 grand. And then when you go back to find that person with the one name and one phone number on the card, they're gone. Okay, and I've had people, even in New York, that I said, you need to report that person to the district attorney. But people are embarrassed because they got fleeced, they're out 10 grand, they don't even want to admit that they went for a reading, so these people continue to get away with it. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a gift, they choose to use it for bad instead of good. So another clue is, if you go for a reading and the person is no way accurate for you, don't go back. If you went for a reading and the person just turned you off, you felt lousy after you left there, don't go back. If you're gay and they tell you you're going to marry somebody, you're going to meet somebody of the opposite sex, there's your big clue, okay? And I've told this because I have a lot of gay clients, I have a lot of gay listeners, because I don't judge anybody. And I said, if they can't even tell you're gay, what else are they telling you that's going to make any sense whatsoever? You know, why did you sit there? You know, why don't you just say, I have to leave? When I first came to the Valley, everybody was raving about this supposed great psychic downtown Phoenix somewhere. She charged $20. She was a really old lady, but she was supposed to be great. And of course, my curiosity was up, so I made an appointment, and I went down there. Now, she was very sweet and all of that, but when I walked in, I realized this is the 3-stick rule. Okay, so you'll want to remember this, okay? If you walk into someone that's going to give you the answers to your life, and a lot of us concerned about our finances, concerned about our love relationships, and you walk into their home and you need 3 sticks, they don't have the answers for you. 3 sticks. 1 to sit on, 1 to hold the ceiling up, and the other 1 to fight the rats off, okay? I felt dirty after being in this woman's house, and I'm like, okay, if you have the answers to the world, does your life reflect it? Okay, and a lot of times people don't. It's the same as sitting with someone that says, I have all the health answers for you, and they're obese. They're obese, you know, they smell, you know, their skin's rotten off their face. What can they possibly give you? If you're a straight woman, straight man, and you're sitting with a reader, and she's just ripping on men, tearing men apart, you can see she's a man-hater, what kind of relationship advice is a person that isn't experiencing love on some level of their life going to be able to give you? So you have to use your common sense, okay? Neon signs in the windows, the big palms, Sister Sarah, and I actually have seen people in the Valley who say their poodles do the reading for you, okay? They put their dog on the table and they talk to their dog the whole time, all right? Start running, okay? Start running as fast as you can. When I saw that, I said, now I've really, truly seen everything. And I'm not saying pets aren't psychic, okay? But that was pushing it. I felt so sorry for that little abused animal. Most of my business has always been through referral. I advertise like everybody else. You try it once in a while, but it's always referral. And I tell people that once you find a good psychic that can actually read for you, clearly for you, it is as precious as finding a good chiropractor. You find a chiropractor that's really good for you, and I happen to have 2 in case any of you need any, you stick with them, because every field has frauds in it. I don't care whatever field any of you are in tonight. There are frauds in all of them, so how do you really know? Usually ask one of your friends, you know. With psychics, it's a little harder because a lot of people don't want to admit going to see a psychic, because it has all those negative connotations, and unfortunately, rightfully so, because of a lot of frauds out there. And I've done this lecture on frauds for over 25 years. It hasn't made me too popular with a lot of psychics in the Valley, but I don't really worry about them. So I notice around town there's a lot of these drive-through, drive-in psychics with the neon palm in the hand, in the window, and I can tell you this, that's the best place to get flipped, okay? Because they're going to read for you somewhat accurately, and when they see that you trust them, that's when the curse on your head, the cloud around you, comes out. But they're going to save you for $10,000, $15,000 or candles that cost more than the Eiffel Tower. And it's usually that psychic that puts the curse on you. And I've worked with a lot of different people, and I said, did they give you anything? Because they'll usually give you some kind of a gift, okay? And that's how they connect to your energy. And until we can find that gift, it's hard to get rid of their, it's not even a curse, they just psychically drain you. I call them psychic vampires. There's just a lot of people out there that do a lot of nasty things. There's a lot of people that profess to be Reiki masters. And they're plugging in all kinds of negative things during your attunement instead of positive, and you feel worse when you left than when you got there. So you have to be very cautious, like any other business. So I'll tell you a story. We'll have to go back to 1988. It was 1988. I was living in New York, and I was having, I also paint, I was having a one-woman show of my watercolors in Soho, New York. Okay, now, if you're not a painter, you may not realize the hugeness of something like that. And that was 1 year after I picked up a paintbrush. I was having a one-woman show in Manhattan, in Soho, in the major art district. I was 3 weeks away from going to the south of France to do sketches and stuff for another series of paintings. My life was the best it could possibly be. I was happily married, we had a gorgeous home, we designed by ourselves, we lived a block from the beach. Life was a dream, shaboom. So I take a break from the gallery one day and start walking around Soho, and sure enough, there's a store. You have to go up a flight of stairs with the neon sign in the window. And I said, wow, this is like just like the lecture I gave like a week ago. And they advertised a $5 reading. So I figured, for fun, let's go see what these people are doing. Because I do have the devil in me, I will tell you that. And I go up the stairs, and this young girl comes out, and I've never seen anything like it. Inside a New York apartment, she's got a tent set up. You got to walk into a tent. It's set up inside the apartment. It's all like hoodoo stuff. So I said to her, well, what do you get for $5? Well, I'll do a personality reading. I said, I know my personality. I said, what else you got? You know? And that's another thing. If somebody's going to sit there and just tell you about your personality, if you guys at this age don't know about your personality, I got a beach I can sell you here in Phoenix, okay? So that's another BS. The other one is, you know, they'll constantly ask you questions through the whole thing to try to pull the information from you, you know. For me, I do ask a few questions before we get started, because we only have an hour and I got to learn your whole life. You know, I want to be as exact as I can be, but I'm certainly not pulling that information from you. Or you can tell me nothing and I just read what I got and you figure it out, you know what I mean? Well, I decide, she says, well, for $20 we can do a tarot reading, she said. Now, at that time, I was teaching tarot and all this other stuff. So I said, well, okay, let's do that. Because I felt like I was like a reporter on the scene. So she takes me into this little tent. I couldn't believe it. I was like, all I could do to keep a straight face. And she has this table in the middle of the room, and it's got 2 tarot decks spread out, you know, like a poker table. And she's got crystals, and she's got crystal balls and all this stuff. And she starts reading for me. And she said a couple of things that seemed okay, like anybody could say about anybody. And then here it was actually happening to me. She says, oh, I see this dark cloud over your head. She says to me, oh, I said to myself, could this be happening, Lord? So she says, this dark cloud and, you know, this, that, the other thing, but, you know, I can help you. I can get rid of it. And I let her just keep going. And then I looked at her and I said to her, well, first of all, I don't have a dark cloud over my head. I said, my life couldn't be any better than it is this minute. I said to her, are you sure that you're seeing what you're seeing? And she doesn't know what to say. But I noticed the cards on the table and I said to her, how about this? Instead of me paying you, how about I do a reading for you with your cards here? Oh no, she says to me, I'm afraid of the cards. Those are my mother's cards. And this is somebody reading for me that's afraid of the cards. So I said, come on, let's do it as a trade. Let me read for you. Because I decided that it was time for somebody to pay. And that was the day I guess I decided it. So I started shuffling and reading the cards for her, and I did exactly what they do. I told her, the first 4 things I told her were dead on. I mean, dead on. She was like falling off her chair. And then I decided to weave a little story of nothing but havoc and mayhem coming down the road in her life, her mother's life, everybody's life. And she was like, she was so paranoid and so freaked out by it. I knew I ruined her entire day, which she deserved. And I made up a couple of words, and I just split. I went down the stairs, and I started looking for my friend, and he was doing a mural in Soho. And by the time I got up to trying to tell him when I found him in the street, I was laughing so hard I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. I mean, I was just literally hysterical. And I have told that story a million times because I didn't go in there really for a read. I went in there out of curiosity. And a lot of times that's what's going to happen. So if there's all kinds of extras that all of a sudden you find yourself paying out, start running, okay? Because they don't know what they're talking about. I wrote some notes because I want to make sure I give you, all right, we got the spells, all right. Remember this, when you go for a reading, and it's similar to seeing an astrologer. Anybody you give your birth information to, okay, I'm not an astrologer, I know a lot about astrology, but I don't do astrology, it's too much math and I hate math. Once you give them your date, time, and place of birth, you might as well give them your social security number and your DNA. Because an astrologer will be able to know every single thing, a good astrologer will be able to know every single thing about you. So that's not information you want to give to somebody who's supposedly a reader, because they don't need it if they really can read. They don't really need that information. Most of the time I'll ask your sun sign because it's just a curious thing. But you want to be careful with that too. You might as well just give them your DNA because they will know everything. Some astrologers, to me, are absolutely phenomenal. They can pick up past life stuff in your astrology. They can pick up your childhood in this life. They know everything just by giving that information to them. So you need to be careful. The other thing, you also have to know whether or not you're what I call a psychic junkie. Okay. This week you're going to Mary, next week you're going to Jane, then you're going to go see Paul. You're going to keep going psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic until somebody tells you what you want to hear. Okay. I call them deadly Klingons. Okay. When somebody comes to me for a reading, of course they're going to say at the end of the reading, well, when do I need to have another one? If they tell you, I need to see you next week, or I need to see you in 3 days, run. I always tell my clients, probably never, if you do what I told you, but you'll know. If it's a business client, that's different. I've had clients come to me with, legal pads with questions on their banks, this, that, the other thing, and we just go through the whole thing in an hour, just check it off, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's different if you're running your business that way. But for the average person, if you really got a solid read that covered everything and you got direction in it, you shouldn't have to go back. I mean, I generally see a year or two down the road for people. So if at that point they've done what I said, chances are I'm not going to see them again. Or if there's something new in their life. I had some clients that I write for regularly. One of them waited till he lost 50 grand in the stock market to ask me whether he should have invested it. I said, why didn't you ask me before that? You call me for such stupid things. I said, and yet $50,000 investment, you didn't bother asking me first. So what am I going to do? It's not going to pull it out of the ethers and bring it back to you. So that's another thing to be aware of. And I can tell you that I get quite the variety of people. When I get hired to do parties too, and I remember especially at one party, and I always say, you have to be very careful how you deliver information to people. This one woman had come in, and she sat down, and what I saw in her cards was that her husband was going to die in about 6 months. It's a party, I'm surely not going to tell her that, okay? What I did say to her, which was legitimate and what I had seen, I says, I do see in a year or so you meeting another man, and the choice really will be yours whether you want to go for it or not. She was so adamant and strong about her marriage, and she just opens up about to me, you know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. So I just pushed her money back, and I said, you know, readings aren't mandatory in the state of Arizona, so no problem, here's your money, so on. Well, about 8 months later, her niece who had put the party together called to tell me that her uncle had died and her mother had met this new fellow. It was exactly what I told her was going to happen, fit the description. And now she wants to set up an appointment with me. And I refused. I says, I'm happy she met him, but I will never read for her again because she was abusive. Okay? And I just say, you know, a lot of times the cards don't lie, people do. And if you're paying a psychic $200 an hour, I expect you're not lying to me, okay? But, you know, people have whatever reasons they have to do what it is that they do. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Okay, exorbitant fees. Okay, how many of you have seen Sylvia Brown? Thanks to Montel Williams, she's got the big business. All right, Sylvia Brown is about as real as those preachers on the TV that tell you to put your hand on the TV and they're going to cure you and just send them all your money. Sylvia Brown charges $2,000 for a half an hour and says the only other good psychic she recommends is her son, who will do the reading for $1,000 a half an hour. Now I've read and I've watched Sylvia as carefully as I watch Benny Hinn. And Benny Hinn is the best phony in the business, okay? You can't take anything away from Benny Hinn. All her writings, you really have to understand where this woman is coming from. Look at her own religion that she started. She is the most negative, wicked-minded person I've ever seen. And yet she's booked forever because for whatever reason, people are attracted to the bigger the phony you are or the more tongues you're speaking or faces or voices. That's how they suck people in. And once they suck you in, there's like no way out. So you have to be really careful. The other thing is trust your gut instinct. You should have some sort of rapport or energy connection to the person that's reading for you. If you don't like them or you don't feel comfortable, that's another clue. They probably can't vibrate either up or down to find your level of energy and read clearly for you. So that's another big clue. If they use a Ouija board, get roller skates on and start running, okay? Don't even just run, put skates on and run. Ouija board attracts the lowest energies and the lowest entities in the universe, okay? Run, don't walk, just run away from that. Again, if they promise to speak to a specific dead person for you, it's not going to happen. I have had it happen in the readings where nobody even wants to hear from their dead. All of a sudden, boom, something blows in, it gives me the chills throughout my body, and it's like, okay, I got this person here, who is it? You know, I'll ask my client, who is this person? And that's okay. But usually to just sit, you know, and I've been at a lot of seances in the Valley, none of them real. And what I saw there, I mean, you could make a movie out of this stuff. And interesting, I was at one seance in the Valley, and the woman, I don't know how many hundreds of dollars she charged everybody to sit at this table. And I promised myself I wasn't going to say anything because I was a guest of someone else. And when I saw the Hollywood crap going on around this table, I was like appalled. Well, it just so happened that one of the spirit guys I worked with in New York decided to jump into the fake channeler that was running the seance, which scared the crap out of her. She was freaking out, and she's talking to me from him. I knew it was him. I said, oh boy, I thought I got rid of that energy. But it didn't. There he was coming through this little woman, and she asked at the end of it for me to never come back. For me and my friend, we were excluded. We were excluded from any future meetings. I was like, well, okay, what can I say? One of my clients this week said to me that she was seeing somebody for a long time, and then all of a sudden the woman just up and left. Doesn't know why, no forwarding address, nothing. But she thought it was odd when she started seeing that person. She always insisted on cash. So if it's always a cash deal, that's pretty much going to tell you this is a fly-by-night person, okay? I'm actually incorporated and actually pay taxes, okay? I get turned down for jury duty because all I have to do is show them I had the yellow pages. Psychic, okay? You would think they would want psychics on the jury, okay? And I told them that. I said, I could save you people the state's time and money. Guilty, not guilty, guilty, not guilty, pedophile, this, that. But for some reason, when you put down, what you do for a living, and I put psychic, I never get called. And I think I don't think that that's really fair. Let's see, I just want to make sure I have one more crazy story. There's one man came to see me, very wealthy man. His family owned pretty much most of Haiti. He was a white man. And he had come to see me as a last resort because while he was last in Haiti, somebody put a curse on him. And voodoo is real. Okay, I can tell you that. So these are things I don't like to bother. I don't want to mess with. Okay, I don't like that stuff in my life. But somebody put a major curse on him, and it ended up it was a member of his family because they were trying to screw him out of. I guess his family owned international banks there or whatever, and they were trying to screw him out of all his money. So instead, what they did is they put a curse on this guy, and he goes down physically to beat the band, almost dead. I don't remember how he found me, but by the time he found me, he had hired other psychics for upwards of $20,000 each. Some of them had convinced him to go to Machu Picchu with him to get the curse off and pay the psychic 20 grand on top of the cost of the whole trip. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Haiti, voodoo, Machu Picchu, what does one got to do with the other? And he came to see me, and I truly had to think about whether I wanted to work with this guy, because I don't want that energy hanging around my house. Once I get it out there, it's like Ghostbusters, just leave, turn into a little blob and go away. And I did a session with him, and I did a clearing on him, and he left, and I didn't see him again. And then I was going to Vegas because I was doing an event at Treasure Island, a lecture, and I see this man in the airport. He's very familiar to me. But I don't want to go up to him and say, do I know you? Because I don't want to think I'm trying to pick him up because I was like over that. And he came up to me and he says, well, hi, Maria. And I looked at him, and it's that guy. It's got to be like 6 months later. And he tells me he's flying off somewhere, whatever. And then he tells me that everything was better in his life. He got his health back after seeing me. He settled whatever was going on in Haiti. He got his business back from his family. And I'm sitting there stunned. And you didn't think it was important to call me and tell me? Because a lot of times my clients don't call me and tell me. So if you see people that advertise 100% accurate, I can tell you that's BS. But I will tell you, a good psychic will give you better odds than you'll get in Vegas. Okay? My accuracy for my clients depends on what they do with the information I give them. And you're going to have homework when you leave. There's always something you need to do. And I have some people who will call me, well, you told me this a year ago, but nothing happened. I said, did you do what I told you? No. Then why are you calling me? I says, why do you want another reading? Just play the same tape because you didn't listen to it the first time. Spirit will work with you, but you've got to be able to put the energy behind it. And whatever your business is, you're putting energy behind it. You don't sit home and expect it's just going to happen, because it doesn't. It's like that bumper sticker, shit happens. Well, some people know even that doesn't just happen. Okay? So you have to be wary. We doing okay?
Well, we're at 20 of 1, and this lasts until 1, so I'm thinking that...
Okay, well, would any of you like or volunteer for me to do a little snap read on a piece of paper? Remember, it's in public. It's in public. Others will hear. If I indeed, and I've done this before, if I tell you you need to see me after class, it's only because it's too personal and I'm not going to say it in front of everybody else. Okay? And I can kind of tell what's personal.
Do you mind if I tape this? Does anybody have any objections?